Hello, everyone, and welcome to the quarterfinals here of the StarCityGames.com Syracuse Open Weekend. Cedric Phillips, Craig Krempels, we're here in the booth. Nick Miller is down in the feature match area as we prepare to watch number 3 overall seed Jonathan Rosum playing Jessup Control against Danny Jessup playing Grixis Death Shadow. Rosum, your number 3 overall seed, will mean that he is on the play here for game number 1, and you see he's begun things here with an Island and a Serum Visions. For Jessup, he is on the draw, picked up a copy of Snapcaster Mage to start things off. And he's going to sacrifice a Polluted Delta, very likely going down to 17 as he searches up a Watery Grave. Craig, who do you feel is going to win this matchup and why?
So I picked Danny Jessup to win this matchup. I think it should be a very good game, games plural. I like all the interaction out of both of the decks, but when you take a look at the lists, a lot of what Danny Jessup is doing here costs 1 mana, and almost everything that Jonathan Rosum is doing costs 2 or 3 mana. If you look at Rosum's threats, the ones that Jessup is going to be worried about, the Spell Quellers and the Geist of St. Draft, they cost 3 mana. So when you're trying to pay 3 to cast your threats and your opponent's paying 1 to answer them or cast their own threats, it's generally advantaged towards the person paying 1.
Serum Visions there for Jessup as well as he falls down to 17. One unique aspect of this match that could come up as Rosum just plays a Flooded Strand and passes the turn back is the fact that Rosum has the ability to burn Jessup out if he gets too low with Lightning Helix, Lightning Bolt, and Snapcaster Mage. So we must keep that in mind as we make our way through these games. Now for Jessup, he is going to play a Thoughtseize, a Logic Knot. Looks like a Cryptic Command. Let's make it 2 Logic Knots along with that Cryptic Command, a Lightning Bolt, a Lightning Helix, and it looks like a Snapcaster Mage. The hand there for Jonathan Rosum. What I don't see is a 3rd land right now.
No 3rd land and no threat. So if he keeps drawing these reactive spells, Jessup is going to have all the time he wants to craft his hand, sculpt things, maybe hit him with a few more discard spells, and really take a great line against this draw.
And Jessup's next step will be a Sleight of Hand. That one's not going to get countered by Logic Knot, so Jessup will take a look at 2 cards here, Scalding Tarn among them, then he'll consult his hand. You see at least a Stubborn Denial there in Danny Jessup's hand. So he has found the card that he wants, puts the other one to the bottom, and he will pass the turn back over to Jonathan Rosum, who has not found a 3rd land. So all he can do is draw a Path to Exile and pass the turn back over to Jessup. We head back Danny Jessup's way. He'll cycle a Street Wraith, fall down to 13. That means he'll get a new card, which is a basic Island.
Yeah, and I don't think Jessup's ever going to want to try to put himself below 7 in this matchup. The possibility of just 2 burn spells killing him is very much on his radar here.
Jessup will now play another discard spell here, an Inquisition of Kozilek. Rosum will show the hand, again 2 Logic Knots, a Bolt, a Helix, a Path, and a Cryptic Command. Your Jeskai Control player simply stuck on 2 lands at this stage of the game.
Yeah, my first instinct is take the Path to Exile here. The Logic Knots costing 2 mana to cast are easily countered
by Stubborn Denial.
By Stubborn Denial.
Of course, can't select Cryptic Command with the Inquisition, but everything else there can be chosen, and he will go with the Path to Exile, will Jessup. So, again, he knows all the cards there that Rosum is working with. The only thing Danny doesn't know is the top card of Jonathan's deck. For Jessup, he'll play a Thought Scour, going to send it towards himself. Steam Vents, Terminate will go to the graveyard. Card drawn was a copy of Death's Shadow. Let's head back over to Jonathan Rosum, who has picked up a 3rd land. It's a Scalding Tarn. Pass that turn back, will Rosum over to Jessup.
And that was great for us. They each drew the card they wanted to draw. Danny drew the threat, and Rosum drew another mana source.
Jessup will play his 4th land, which is a Scalding Tarn. Pretty healthy graveyard there, as he does have a Snapcaster Mage in his hand. Has at least 1 copy of Stubborn Denial, but there may be 2. Not a hard counter just yet, however. Now Jessup, you have to wonder how much he's had to navigate against Jeskai Control. Remember, these players do have access to each other's deck list, so they know exactly what cards they're working with in elimination rounds, and Jessup has seen Rosum's hand, so he knows about 2 Logic Knots, a Cryptic Command, a Lightning Bolt, and a Lightning Helix. Again, he doesn't know the top card of Rosum's deck. That's about the only information he's without as he works to make his decision here on this turn.
Yeah, and that Logic Knot can get real big. It's looking at 3 cards in the graveyard, 2 lands, plus you could pay an additional 1 for the X if you wanted to.
Looks like Jessup's going to go towards Snapcaster Mage.
Yep, looking to bait out one of these Logic Knots.
Not willing to lead out with Death Shadow just yet.
Yeah, that's clearly his big payoff card. He's going to want to be conservative with playing it. Especially considering it turns on the Stubborn Denials in his hand.
And it'll be another discard spell in the form of Thoughtseize. This will resolve once again, and I'm curious to see exactly which card Jessup would like to take as he falls down to 11. We talked about the fact that Rosum can burn an opponent out. You see Bolt and Helix in hand. We know he's got Snapcaster Mage in his deck as well, even though it's in the graveyard. And for now, Jessup will take a Logic Knot, work his way through that particular counterspell. For Rosum, he's going to sacrifice a couple of fetch lands here in Flooded Strand and Scalding Tarn. We'll see what lands he wants to find. He'll find a Hollowed Fountain with one of the fetches and a Steam Vents with the other. So he'll shuffle and present the deck. And of course, when we do have updates on our other matches, we will of course let you know. But we keep our attention here for now as Jonathan Rosum will draw a card. Picked up a copy of Snapcaster Mage.
Not a bad one.
Thoughtseize the draw here for Jessup. He might want to lead out with discard spell once again.
And you can see exactly what I was talking about with all of these 1-mana cards that he can play. You know, he's cast Thoughtseize twice, the Inquisition, the Thought Scour, the Sleight of Hand. He's about to cast another Thoughtseize, and then he's going to be able to play a 1-mana threat in the form of Death Shadow.
Here's Thoughtseize once again here from Danny Jessup. Let you know that Dan Musser did win game number 1 in our backup match, as he is currently up a game here over Caleb Shearer. Eldrazi Tron up a game over Storm, as Rosum will let the discard spell resolve once again. Logic Knot, Cryptic Command, Lightning Bolt, Snapcaster Mage, Lightning Helix, the 5 cards in Jonathan's hand.
Yep, going to take the knot, clearing the way for the Death Shadow, and then he's going to be able to protect it.
And there is Death Shadow.
With the double Stubborn Denial.
Yeah, Danny has crafted himself a nice little hand here, as Rosum is going to go towards Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster Mage is likely going to try to target Path to Exile. There will be a Path to Exile, and that will be hit with a Stubborn Denial. Now we head over to Jonathan, who's picked up a copy of Sacred Foundry. He'll play that untapped. This looks like it may be a copy of Cryptic Command. It is. Looking to bounce and draw. Now what's interesting about this is if Jessup says, I'll sacrifice my Scalding Tarn, I'll go get a fetch land. I'll sacrifice this fetch land, go get a Ravnica Shock land. He brings himself down to 6.
Yeah, he can't really do that.
Yeah, and then he's facing down a Bolt and a Helix.
But he's going to take 2 from the Snapcaster Mage here, meaning if he sacks the fetch land at any point, still going to 6.
But he still has the Stubborn Denial.
But he still has the Stubborn Denial,
which is very important here. Snapcaster Mage is going to come across into the red zone here for Jessup. Rosum's going to fall down to 12. Jessup now will play 1 Death Shadow. And if 1 is good, 2 is better. These are 6/6s, and this is that life total, I think, Craig, that you said Jessup really needs to stay at. It's basically 6.
Yep.
As here's a Serum Vision.
Yep, got to stay above 6. And he's doing it.
Scry 2 with the Serum Visions. As Rosum trying to steal this one here.
Yeah, we saw him stumble on mana for a couple of turns there. He had no threats to deploy onto the board, but he's trying to stay in this game, and you know, any misstep by Jessup, like you say, he might just steal it. Especially if we were to draw another card like another Lightning Bolt.
Now remember, Jessup has been Thoughtseize and Inquisitioning all game, so he knows about a Bolt, he knows about a Lightning Helix, so his decisions with his life total are going to be very informed. He doesn't know a couple of the cards here for Rosum, the Colonnade and the other copy of Serum Visions. You see Rosum shuffling those cards back and forth because he is still scrying here with the Serum Visions he just cast, and he's looking at 2 lands. Looks like he does want 1 of them. He'll play a Colonnade. Simply pass the turn back. We'll go over to Jessup, who will draw a copy of Serum Visions. This is where his turn will begin.
And it looks like Rosum's plan is to cast one of those burn spells, untap, activate the Colonnade, and try to finish off his opponent that way. It's looking pretty doubtful to work, but I like that he identified a line that could just win the game outright.
Well, I don't know. This might actually work. He kept the land on top. And so I think the plan here end of turn for Rosum is fire off the Helix and the Bolt.
Oh, yeah. I missed that he has 2 red sources right now.
Yeah, fire off the Helix and the Bolt.
Then this plan could definitely work.
Hope that one resolves. Take my land off the top of my deck, put it on the battlefield, activate the Colonnade. If one of these 3 damage spells resolve, Jessup falls down to 4, and Colonnade actually gets the job done.
Yes.
One on top, one on bottom here for Jessup.
2 on top would have been very interesting because I don't think the game's lasting any more turns than 1 each.
Neither do I. Here's another Serum Visions. Jessup kept this card. I think that may have been a fatal push, folks.
Yep. So he sees the same line.
I want to push you around. Well, I will. Well, I will.
Ooh, a little Matchbox 20.
That's right. Coming in for the W, if that's okay. It's a Lightning Helix going to go after Snapcaster Mage. So now if you're Jessup, you can sacrifice this fetch land and go get a blue source.
Yep, going to 4.
Stubborn Denial this.
Stubborn Denial. Even if the Bolt kills the Snapcaster Mage, you're still attacking for more than lethal with your 2 Death Shadows.
Correct. The only concern here is Path to Exile. Is if Path to Exile resolves on a Death Shadow, we're still playing Magic. Because Death Shadow is going to become, he's going to fall down to 4, 12 minus 4 is 8, 9, 10.
Well, if he, so at 4.
Death Shadow, Nate 8. 13 minus 4, 9. And then 10, 11 for Snapcaster
I'm
Mage.
thinking he shouldn't even counter the Helix.
Oh, you think that should just resolve? Oh,
like
yeah,
you said,
you're right.
Path to Exile is
Path to Exile or Bust. Yeah, sure. He sacrifices the fetch land. The Death Shadows are both huge.
Yes, exactly.
They're both 13, they're both 9/9, so Helix actually doesn't even matter.
Correct.
In that situation. Yeah, I see what you're saying right there. Either way, Danny Jessup is going to win game number 1. He even gives himself a pat on the back, Barry Horowitz style. How about that? Over Jonathan Rosum as Grix's Death Shadow currently up a game here over Jeskai Control. We take a look at the sideboards here. Both players, again, working with each other's deck lists, so this information very public between the two. For Jonathan Rosum, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, 2 Relic Progenitors, 2 Ruined Halo, 2 Stony Silence, a Dispel, a Rest in Peace, a Wear, Tear, and Anger of the Gods, a Vendilion Click, a Supreme Verdict, and the very powerful Elspeth, Sun's Champion.
I like a lot of these cards out of Jonathan's sideboard. The Vendilion Click seems pretty strong to me. The Supreme Verdict can't be countered. It's a great way to clean up the fatties on the other side. Elspeth, Sun's Champion, kills all the fat things on the other side, and it'll finish the game by itself. Rest in Peace is an effective way to fight the Grixis Death Shadow matchup. The Dispel is strong in counter wars and against removal spells, and the Relic Progenitor seems really good here. Even Ruined Halo has its place in this matchup.
Yeah, a lot of people like playing Ruined Halo, naming Death Shadow. It's their best threat.
Yep.
Cheapest, biggest threat. You can lock that down. And enchantments are something they really can't get off the battlefield, though. If you take a look at Jessup's sideboard, he does have a way through a Ruined Halo in that Engineered Explosives. He also has 2 Nile Spellbomb, 2 Ceremonious Rejection of his own, 2 Collective Brutality, 2 Teamer Battle Rage, 2 Flaying Tendrils, 2 Liliana the Veil, a Liliana the Last Hope, another copy of Stubborn Denial.
I don't think Danny's going to want to change a lot out of his deck here. The Engineered Explosives is a possibility. I like the Liliana of the Veil. It'd be great to take down a Spell Queller or a Geist of St. Traft with that card, and the 4 Stubborn Denial is almost certainly coming in.
Yeah, you saw how good Stubborn Denial was in that game, so you have to imagine he's going to want an additional copy. It's basically a 1-mana hard counter in this matchup. So those are the options there for both players. Danny Jessup currently up a game here over Jonathan Rosum. And so now we talk one more time this weekend about the StarCityGames.com weekly sale where you can save up to 33% off wholesale lots. Go to StarCityGames.com/weekly sale for more information so you can check out those wholesale lots that you can save 33% off of. But keep in mind, this sale does end Monday morning at 10:59 a.m. East Coast time. Fortunately for you at home, we'll have a new sale up for you tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. East Coast time. So make sure you do check out go.starcitygames.com/weekly sale for all of our weekly sales, but certainly that one where you can save up to 33% on wholesale lots. With that, we learn a little bit more about the person who's currently up a game. It is Danny Jessup, the brother of Andrew Jessup, is a 25-year-old from, how do you say that? Ronkonkoma, New York. Danny's got 9 top 8s, but let's add one to that with the top 8 here, along with that open win back in 2014 in Baltimore. He's also got an invitational top 8 in Seattle, Washington a few years ago, where he lost in the finals to Dylan Donegan. Is the second best Magic player in his house. I'm willing to admit that. And brother Andrew, quite the Magic player, stayed at home this weekend to play in the Magic Online Championship Series. He gave up a home run to Mike Trout when he was 12, which, hey.
Yeah, him and everyone else.
Pretty much. No big deal there. Actually, Mike Trout hit a home run earlier today against the Oakland Athletics, so you're one of many, Danny. And he used to play competitive Call of Duty, to the member of TeamMetaGameGurus.com. We'll see if he can get another W here and move on to the semifinals as we let you know about an update of a match here. It looks like Jeffrey White was victorious here over, over Kieran McKenzie. That means Eldrazi beat Affinity. That is a surprise to me, my friend. 2-0, Jeffrey White won? Really, really, really? Wow. That's what they tell me. Nick Miller piping in results here.
Well,
we got another result here for you. Daniel Duffy with Merfolk takes down Storm pretty quickly. And that's Ryan Dunn, who's your number 8 overall seed. Ryan Dunn's tournament is over. Daniel Duffy, well, he's only lost 1 match this weekend. That was in round number 14. He's made things look very easy here this weekend with Merfolk. So he's on to the semifinals to play against Jeffrey White and his Eldrazi Tron deck. We turn our focus back here now, however, to Danny Jessup and Jonathan Rosum. Rosum on the play, Jessup on the draw. Both these players do have some lands to start.
Yeah, that Tron Affinity matchup, if you can just open with Chalice on 0 against the Affinity deck, it's really good a lot of games.
And Jessup here going to fall down to 17 as usual, searching up a Watery Grave on tap. Now here's a Serum Visions. He'll draw a card. Now he'll scry 2. Stubborn Denial going to stay on top. Scalding Tarn very quickly going to go to the bottom, and Rosum will sacrifice his fetch land. A Scalding Tarn likely to go get a Hallowed Fountain. That'll enter the battlefield tapped, and we'll head back over to Jonathan in just a moment.
Look at you. You just see all the lines.
This is what happens when you watch Magic all day. And you know what? Dan Musser wasn't messing around either. He got the job done with Eldrazi Tron over Caleb Shear playing Storm. So there you go. Now we're just waiting on these 2 players.
What's with these Tron decks, man?
Dude, I think Eldrazi Tron might be the best deck in the format. I'm not kidding.
We're like, it's got kind of a bad matchup, and the other one's got kind of a bad matchup, and they both won.
Yeah, and they both won fast. For Rosum, he just played a Celestial Colonnade and passed the turn back over to Jessup. Jessup will play a Bloodstained Mire. He'll sacrifice that Mire, fall down to at least 16, potentially 14. And maybe it's another Watery Grave on the way. Yes, it is.
Dude, my whole bracket just fell apart. Did you talk to these guys? Let them know that I'd pick the other way?
Yeah, that's the first thing I did, actually.
Apparently that wasn't very effective.
We'll see a Thought Scour here, turn over a Gurmag Angler and a land. And now for Jessup, he's going to try to play a cheap threat here in the Big Fish. Going to delve away the graveyard, hope it lives. It won't, but he will get to search up a land as a consolation prize thanks to the Path to Exile. A basic swamp is what he's found as we head back over to Rosum for his 3rd turn. Be a pretty good turn here for Geist of St. Traft if Jonathan has it.
Yeah, it would be great.
He'll play a Spire Bluff Canal.
We were talking about that Ruined Halo. One of the strategies that some of the control players take, like you said, the Ruined Halo on Death Shadow, and then if you can effectively fight the Grixis Death Shadow graveyard, their other fatties just require Delve to get on the board. So if you never give them much of a graveyard, they can't deploy their other threats.
Yeah, 6 mana Tassigurs and 7 mana Gurmag Anglers.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Pretty hard to do, yeah. Jessup will play a Thought Scour, targeting himself, and wants to reload up on that graveyard. That will resolve. Scalding Tarn. Snapcaster Mage to the bin. New card coming to the hand. It's a Bloodstained Mire. See if that's going to be it for Jessup's turn. See Rosum waiting patiently with those 3 lands available. Jessup's going to sacrifice that Bloodstained Mire, going to fall down to 13. How low can you go?
Probably 11.
Let's make it 11 via Steam Vents then.
How low can you go?
Depends on what deck I'm playing.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Me? 0.
You can go down to 0?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I do it all the time. It's not always an effective strategy.
Yeah. Here's a Serum Vision's going to pick up a copy of Snapcaster Mage. Kolaghan's Command and Nile Spellbomb, the cards here that Jessup is looking at. I think he might have interest in both of those. 2 pretty nice cards in the matchup. Card advantage built into each one of them. Jessup going to take a long look. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if he kept both, and he will keep both.
Yeah, he already has a Snapcaster Mage in the graveyard.
We're going to head over to Rosum. That's an island. Simply going to pass that turn back over to Jessup. Jessup will draw. Nile Spellbomb is what he's found, so that means that Kolaghan's Command will be the next draw step so long as he doesn't fetch.
And you can see what I was talking about before this match started. Jonathan Rosum has expensive threats. It's very difficult for him to deploy a threat and be able to protect it and or not leave himself exposed to one of Danny Jessup's threats. On the flip side, Jessup has the ability to play 1-mana threats that are quite sizable and impact the board and still interact with his opponent.
Jessup going to search up a Blood Crypt now as he falls down to 8. Again, we almost saw Jonathan Rosum burn Jessup out last game. Jessup has done all the damage to himself thus far. And he hasn't even cast a Thoughtseize yet.
And with that fetch, it means he decided against Kolaghan's Command.
True. Is this the Thoughtseize?
Looks like a Death Shadow.
All right, let's go with Death Shadow.
Yeah, let's get on the board.
13 minus 8 is 5 for you mathematicians at home. That means that's a 5/5 creature.
Let's mix it up.
Mix it up, mix it in. Cryptic Command? Nah, stubborn it out of that, thanks. I don't think so.
Now the question is, does he want to deploy a Spell Bomb?
Looks like the answer is no right now.
Yeah, so he's sitting on Snapcaster Mage, Stubborn Denial.
Rosum will play a Steam Vents tapped. Here's a Snapcaster Mage. Maybe thinking Path to Exile, perhaps. Danny's going to give him the thumbs up. Here is Path to Exile. Jessup says, I've got a Snapcaster Mage of my own, thank you much. I'd like to Stubborn Denial that if you don't mind. Stubborn Denial will work just fine.
Ooh. That's an awkward one to draw here.
Just a bit. Keep in mind that Snapcaster Mage, that whole interaction was on Jessup's upkeep. Very important to note. And I'm sure he would love to fire off Thoughtseize and see what the heck's going on, but like you said, that's a risky business.
Yeah, 6 is just the life total I would not want to entertain here. But it's so tempting. Rosum is starting to not have a ton of cards in his hand anymore. We're in this mid-game where every card is so important. Having the information to play perfectly throughout the rest of the game would be great, but the risk of going to 6 and being threatened by, you know, Lightning Bolt plus Snapcaster Mage or multiple bolts. Oh, mama.
Boy, there's a bolt going upstairs. Rosum, is that 2 Snapcaster Mages? I think that might be 2. Wah, wah.
So he has the Spell Bomb.
He does.
But there's also the threat of this Celestial Colonnade.
There is.
That Snapcaster can't attack.
Nope, but this Death Shadow can.
And it should.
In there. A very quick block. Nile Spellbomb. pass. Land 6 on top for Jonathan Rosum.
Making a face.
It's a colonnade. All right, we play on. Well, you got to play it. Yep. And you got to hope that Jessup doesn't peel a fatal push or some way to stay alive past this.
Well, yeah, and I think he'll Snapcaster Mage right now, so Jessup can't draw a card off the spell bomb.
Pretty smart. Yep. Get rid of the graveyard. Pass a turn back. Here we go, folks. Jessup with a big draw step. Tassiger, which I don't think helps all that much. In his graveyard, he's taking a look. He does have a copy of Snapcaster Mage in his hand.
Sure, you could cast the Serum Visions here.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like that's where we're starting.
This is Snapcaster Mage. And he will start with a Serum Visions. It's got to be a good one here for Jessup. Draw a card. Any fatal pushes? Inquisition of Kozilek, I believe, is what he found. Kolaghan's Command, Death Shadow on top of the deck. Don't think those are going to matter much here, folks. If that's an Inquisition of Kozilek and not a fatal push, I think we're going to get ready here for a third and final game. You got to remember, this Death Shadow deck, it deals so much damage to itself that this sort of thing can happen sometimes, where something as innocent as a Celestial Colonnade can get the game done all by itself.
Well, and he might have still lost this game, but if he hadn't cast that Thoughtseize,
it's a big question.
He definitely would have had another turn coming in here.
He's going to leave both these cards on top, Snap and Death Shadow. Very quick block of the Death Shadow here by Jonathan Rosum. The follow-up is Tassiger. Now Danny Jessup's hoping he won't attack, but given the battlefield, Jonathan Rosum is somewhat incentivized to attack. So,
no other options here.
Rosum will untap. He'll draw.
I don't think he's going to cast this one.
Yeah, unless he outthinks himself a little bit here. We should see Colonnade get fired up for the W, because guess what, my friend? You ain't got much of a choice.
and I like Danny just not giving anything away.
No, of course not. Might as well play. You're in the top 8, right?
Well, he's giving his opponent a chance to lose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of players will see them just scoop up their cards here, which is what we're going to see shortly anyway.
Wow.
You see the head shake. And like you said, maybe he's going to outthink himself. Maybe he's thinking, all right, I need to cast Serum Visions and draw a burn spell because he's got a fatal push.
Yeah. Wow, me oh my. He might not activate this colonnade. Again, we have the ability to see the player's hands, so we are working with perfect information.
Oh, it's very easy from in the booth.
Absolutely. It's easy from home. It's easy from everywhere except for Jonathan Rosum's chair.
Yep, and I still think he's going to get around to the colonnade play. And when he does, he's going to be very relieved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fired up, activate, attack. Yep, that'll do it. Okay, fair enough. He wants to take a look. Maybe the top couple of cards he may draw there, but Jonathan Rosum going to tie things up here against Danny Jessup. Jeskai control, Grixis Death Shadow going to get ready for a third and final game here. So you do see the sideboards, and we mentioned both players have plenty to bring in. Sideboard cards didn't play a huge role in things that game, but you have to feel like maybe it will here in the third one.
Yeah, and I don't know if Jessup, like I said, wanted to change his deck that much. I like the Stubborn Denial. I like the 2 Liliana of the Veil. I don't think I'd bring in these other cards. The Nile Spellbomb was okay, but you're only working against some Snapcaster Mages, possibly Logic Knots, maybe not even those after board.
Make a good point. You really do. So we'll see how things do change here, because both players taking a look at each other's deck list. Looks like they are going back to the drawing board a little bit. Play draw might change some things here for Jonathan Rosum and the construction of his deck. But we do want to mention one more time here this weekend that if you plan on attending Grand Prix Washington, D.C., and we certainly hope that you do, September 1st through the 3rd, make sure you register by the main event, for the main event, today. That's, of course, a standard main event at Grand Prix Washington, D.C., because if you register by today, you guarantee yourself this hour of devastation playmat. StarCityGames.com/GPDC for more information. You can register there. You can find about the standard main event there. You can find about all the side events. Our guest of honor, our featured cosplayer as well. Again, StarCityGames.com/GPDC. If you're going to play in the main event, get registered by today. Secure yourself this hour of devastation playmat. Well, we got 3 matches done, Craig. 1 to go.
Uh-oh. What happened?
We got Daniel Duffy, number 1 overall seed, with Merfolk. He took down Ryan Dunn, number 8 overall seed, playing Storm. So Duffy is through. He's going to be playing against Jeffrey White, playing Eldrazi-tron. That's your number 4 overall seed, because Jeffrey White, somehow, some way, he beat Kieran McKenzie playing Affinity 2 games to 0, which is a real surprise to me. Perhaps McKenzie had some mulligan issues, not entirely sure. Of course, our 3rd and final match between Dan Musser and Caleb Shear. That one ended pretty quickly, too, as Musser, the number 2 overall seed, he got the job done with Eldrazi-tron over Shear, number 7 overall seed, playing Storm, which means that so far I think you're 1 for 2?
1 for 2.
1 for 2.
Running hot.
Excuse me. 1 of 3.
1 out of 3.
In your predictions.
1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2. 1 out of 3 in your predictions. So, Craig.
That's right where I wanted to be.
Yeah, you know, 33% of the time you're right, I think.
Well, I'm about to, my horse is on the play here.
All right, Craig did pick Danny Jessup to win this matchup. Death Shadow, a hard deck to pick against. So we will see if that will come to fruition here momentarily. Both players will lay out their 7 cards. Take a little looky-loo. A look-ski-poo. How about that?
There we go.
Winner of this match will be playing against Dan Musser, the Akron, Ohio native, in his 11th SCG Tour top 8, waiting for the winner of this one. Jessup, go grab that watery grave, my friend. Fall down to 17. Let's get to business.
Man, these E-Tron decks have just been beating up on all of our top 8s in Modern.
Yeah, they don't mess around. Todd Stevens found something, man.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Todd Stevens found a brew. Todd Stevens didn't have success with this weekend, but many other people did, that's for sure. Serum Vision's here for Jessup. He'll draw a card. It's a copy of Watery Grave, Sky 1 and 2, Scalding Tarn, and it looks like Watery Grave or Polluted Delta. Not sure if he needs any more mana, but if he does, he's certainly found it. He'll put one on top, the other on bottom, Tarn to the bottom. Let's head over to Jonathan Rosum, who picked up a copy of Celestial Colonnade to start things off. Does have a copy of Relic Progenitus in hand. Does a Jeskai control player.
Yeah, the question is, do we play the Colonnade, or do we get that Relic onto the board right now? And a lot of that depends on the makeup of his hand. I do like getting the Relic of Progenitus onto the board right away. You know, Danny obviously couldn't counter it right now if he had something to interact with it, and it would just make his life a little more of a headache just trying to play his Delve threats.
This is a Flooded Strand. That is a Hollowed Fountain. Rosum was going to fall down to 17. We're all tied up.
Yep, trying to keep up with his opponent.
Absolutely. Always a good idea. Always a good idea. Let's see what we have here. There's Relic of Progenitus, and that's in there. He'll activate it right away. And Jessup is going to lose that Polluted Delta. Now, we go over to Danny Jessup. Remember, he kept this card on top. It was a Polluted Delta. Put a Scalding Tarn to the bottom with that Serum Visions. And now here's a Thoughtseize. Jessup wants to get an idea of exactly what Rosum is working with. And I'm sure you do as well at home. So a Celestial Colonnade, a Spell Queller, a Serum Visions, a Path to Exile, a Lightning Bolt, and an old Snapcaster Mage.
This is a good hand. It's a good mix of everything. It's got some counter spells. Got the Snapcaster Mage to make things redundant. I like this grip.
Need a little bit more mana. That's what's missing right now.
He does, but he even has the Serum Visions to help fix that.
That's true. But for how long?
Maybe not long at all.
Yeah.
I think too many of these cards are too good to be taking Serum Visions out of this hand.
Okay.
I would think Path to Exile is the pick.
Jessup giving it a long look.
It is Serum Visions.
He will take Serum Visions.
There we go.
Big follow-up here from Jessup. He'll go with the Polluted Delta and simply pass the turn back over to Rosum. Rosum will draw a card. We know he's got Colonnade, so he'll play that. He picked up actually another copy of Relic of Progenitus. An activation here of the Relic. This is on Jessup's upkeep. And Jessup will lose his Serum Visions. Now he'll draw a card. Picked up another copy of Thoughtseize, did Danny. This is another copy of Thoughtseize.
Yeah, let's start with that.
Yep. It looks like Rosum wants to sacrifice a Relic now.
That's interesting.
That is a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah, I don't like this play because a couple of reasons. He's showing his opponent an additional card when he doesn't need to, and he's leaving an additional card in his opponent's graveyard. If he had just waited until the end of the turn to make that play, he gets to eat that Thoughtseize, maybe eats the fetch land as well. So, you know, all of these cards could end up being relevant.
I feel like I'm missing something with why Jonathan would want to do that in response to Thoughtseize. Very strange play. For Jessup, he's looking at a hand of Spire Bluff Canal, Relic of Progenitus, Lightning Bolt, Path to Exile, Spell Queller, and the very powerful Snapcaster Mage. And there goes Snappy.
Oh, one of the reasons he would want to do it right then is if Bolt or Path gets discarded, he wants them to stay in his graveyard for the Snapcaster Mage.
That's reasonable. It's just a little bit, you know, it feels like he's giving away a lot of info.
Yes.
That's kind of the scary part to me, I guess.
But there is a reason.
Now, on that turn, I believe Jessup didn't play a land.
Correct.
Interesting. We head over to Danny. Picked up a Bloodstained Mire. Now he's got to worry about Rosum and his Spell Queller, as Jessup will play a Watery Grave untapped. He'll sacrifice his Polluted Delta.
And if Jessup has some sort of a removal spell, like if the Fatal Push for this Spell Queller, he might invite his opponent to do it.
And now it's a basic swamp that Jessup has searched up, willingly not searching up a red source. Perhaps it'll bring him too low, but he does have a copy of a Bloodstained Mire in hand. Here is Snapcaster Mage. This will be a Spell Queller on Snapcaster Mage. And that'll resolve. Fatal Push will resolve, but Danny won't get the opportunity to recast anything. So definitely got to be a misstep there from Jessup.
Yeah,
There's no other way. There's no other way to paint that.
Yeah, I don't think he realized that he was using up his 1 mana to cast the Fatal Push, and then wouldn't be able to play the Thoughtseize out of the graveyard.
Well, I can't imagine anything else that it could be besides that. I mean, he does have a 2/1 and Spell Queller's off the battlefield, so that's a win, I guess. But Snapcaster Mage is a lot better than 2/1 Ambush Viper.
Yes.
Well, sometimes when the bright lights are on, things get a little bit more difficult, as here's a Thought Scour. Gurmag Angler, Thoughtseize go to the graveyard. Jessup will draw a card. It's a copy of Nile Spellbomb. With Rosum playing a 4th land untapped, he went down to 15. Now he'll fall down to 13. And now here's a Spellbomb. Rosum right now representing Cryptic Command, a card that he's playing 4 of here this weekend.
Yeah, and I think Danny's wisely going to dodge that spell.
Looks like it might be lightning bolt time.
Zap!
Again, Jessup does so much damage to himself, and Rosum has so much burn in his Jeskai control deck that burning out the opponent is a play that can happen. However, the lightning bolt's going to go towards Snapcaster Mage. Serum Vision's the draw. Serum Vision's potentially the card he's casting here, but if he does that, he's putting down his Cryptic Command shield.
Yeah, well, and he also has that other relic that he was reluctant to deploy.
Yeah.
So if he casts the Serum Visions, at least he was opening himself up to play the relic as well.
Sure, sure. Jessup is going to blow the Nile Spellbomb. Draw a card, picked up a copy of Bloodstained Mire. He'll draw yet again, and it's another copy of Death Shadow. So is it time for the powerful avatar to join the battlefield? It is. And again, Jessup knows about the Path to Exile that's in Rosum's hand. And I think he may have been able to guess that that was there. Cryptic Command, counter, and draw. And now here's another copy of Death Shadow. And now we send things over to Jonathan Rosum. Rosum is going to draw a card. He's picked up a copy of Logic Knot. Jonathan do a nice job of getting himself into the mid game here.
Yeah, this is definitely where he wants to be, getting a lot of value out of his cards. The fact that he was able to resolve that Cryptic Command was definitely a big victory for him. You know, with Cryptic Command resolving, it means that this Path to Exile is almost certainly resolving as well. And like I said, he's going to be able to relic away his opponent's graveyard, leaving Jessup with very few resources to work with here.
The question is just which order does Jonathan Rosum want to do all of these things? He's going to start with Relic of Progenitus. And now he will activate the relic. The graveyards have gone away. Rosum will draw a new card.
I like this. It leaves him with the Path to Exile in his graveyard, which is significant for Snapcaster Mage, and the Logic Knot already in his hand.
And there is a Path to Exile. Jessup's going to get the opportunity to search up a land, and now Rosum will take this moment to cast a Serum Visions. He's drawn. Now he'll scry 2. Looks like another Cryptic Command has been found. There are worse finds. It looks like maybe also a land.
Yeah, the land's kind of interesting because he wants to get up to enough for the Celestial Colonnade. But if he starts to fall behind here, he does not want to be drawing the land off the top of his deck.
Well, one on top, one on bottom there.
And he did not play a land for his turn.
Jessup with not much going on. You see the Fatal Push, but here's the Serum Visions. And Jessup without a graveyard, not much of a hand. His Death Shadow deck is kind of stalled out here a little bit, as Rosum is the one building some velocity by looking at a lot of cards here over the past couple of turns. He'll play him out, and he's still got triple blue available, and Jessup has drawn another land. He'll just pass the turn back. Spell Queller has come down.
Just the naked Spell Queller. Yeah. I like it.
It's time to get a clock going.
Yeah, we're getting to work. I've got tons of cards in my hand. You know, this game's probably going to end with me not even playing all of these cards.
And now here's Geist of St. Traff. Now this game could be over very quickly.
Next turn.
Yeah. Rosum looking to present lethal here, as Jessup does have this Fatal Push. Doesn't kill Geist of St. Traff, of course. He can kill the Spell Queller with it thanks to this Bloodstained Mire that he sacrificed, but Danny J is in some real trouble here. I'm not quite sure, Craig, what the best draw is even for him.
Liliana of the Veil would be quite good if he brought it in, but we know about the Logic Knot in his opponent's hand.
That's very true. Here's a Fatal Push. Yeah, Liliana wouldn't be too bad at all. I do agree with you on that one. See if maybe that's what Jessup draws this turn. He'll take a draw step. He's found another land. He's got a lot of lands in his hand. And if Jonathan Rosum plays land number 6 and is willing to go for it, he's going to be moving on.
Yeah, he'll definitely win the game. And there's not even a threat of him losing the game next turn.
Down to 1 goes Jessup. Jessup will draw. It's a Liliana of the Veil, which is oddly enough a touch late. Cryptic Command at the ready here for Jonathan Rosum.
And a Logic Knot.
That as well.
He only has the blue to play one of them.
Looks like he's going to go with the more powerful of the two, and that is going to do it. Jonathan Rosum is going to win this match here over Danny Jessup, 2-1. Jeskai Control will take care of Grixis Death's Shadow, and for Jonathan Rosum, it's another semifinals appearance.